I was on the trolley yesterday. The trolleys have been providing us with so many wonderful opportunities to practice, haven't they? So I got on the trolley and there were not any seats, but it's one seat and then two seats. So there was sort of two seats, and then there was a young man who had angled his body across the two seats. And so I scooted my little butt right into this space, and I was sort of talking. It was a bit of an aggressive move, but in my mind, I was like, "Oh, man spreading. I won't stand for this." But after a minute, I registered that the kid was really uncomfortable. Like, he wasn't making it my problem, but you could tell his body was just really tight with me there, which made me uncomfortable. And so now I'm going between righteousness and guilt. Like, who am I in this story? Am I the hero who's standing up to his sense of entitlement? Or am I, in my own entitlement, making this kid really uncomfortable? So we've been talking in here about the different aspects of right action. And this week we're going to talk about the instruction not to take what is not freely given, which is one of the 5 precepts. So of course I'm thinking of that, and I was thinking about it when I wedged my butt into the seat. In my original conception, the kid was taking what was not freely given. One fare, one seat. That's the idea. But then the more I felt his discomfort, I started to see the way that I was taking what was not freely given. His body position was such a clear indication that he did not want me to sit beside him. Not taking what is not freely given is, surprise, surprise, a complex instruction. We could take it like we take the commandment, thou shalt not steal. If something is clearly someone else's, then don't take it from them by force or deception, which is a good foundation, but it gets really tricky really fast. All of the precepts, all of the moral, I don't want to say rules, all of the moral concepts in Buddhism are abstentions. So Em talked a couple of weeks ago about abstaining from harming living beings. And here we're talking about abstaining from taking. And each of these abstentions also has a positive expression. So the positive expression of non-harming is cultivating love and care. And the positive expression of not taking what is not freely given is contentment. Joseph Goldstein, in the text that we've been following, writes about how at IMS, the retreat center in Barrie that is in our lineage and tradition, they don't have locks on the doors. And even though none of the doors are locked and everyone keeps their valuables in their room while they're on retreat, there's not a problem with stealing at IMS. And his theory is that people don't steal because they are by and large content with what they have. If you're on retreat, you have a safe place to sleep and 3 meals a day, and you have water if you need it, and emotional and spiritual support. At the retreat center where I go every year with Prescott Insight Meditation, this place is crazy. Some like Hindu hippies in the 60s. I do not know where they got their money from, but it was a lot. And they built this massive compound where they all live communally. They have like a massive like mahogany meditation hall. And the place is full of priceless Buddhist and Hindu art, like gorgeous statues, rare books. And everything is wide open, and there's not a lock on anything. Everything's wide open. You can drive right up to the ashram, walk in, and anything is there, except they have a lock on the door to the gift shop. For most of the place, right? If you want it, you could take it. But they do have a gift shop where things have prices on them that you can buy. And what you have to pay for, you can steal. You can't steal something that's freely given to you. And part of the idea I think that Goldstein is talking about is you don't feel desire to steal when you're content. So we can reflect on what leads you to feel contentment and cultivate that. And we can also reflect on the discontent that urges us to take what is not freely given. So that might be physical discontent, right? For example, an unhoused person might choose to sleep on private property that is not freely offered because of the discontent of sleeping outside. Or it might be political discontent. A person may demand fair wages from a company that doesn't want to pay them. Yeah, it might be the kind of discontent that our culture breeds, where I feel discontent with my social status, and so I take things that give me a higher status. It's useful to register our discontent and to see where taking what is freely given, what is not freely given, is onward leading and where it isn't. When I was an ad-busting 90s kid, the consensus among my friends was that although it was never okay to steal from a small business or a local business, there's no crime in stealing from a corporation because they themselves are built on stealing labor and resources in the first place. And I think about that every time I do the self-checkout in Target. There is something about the detergent being all lucked up and the unwillingness to pay the checkout people or let them unionize that puts me in a real punk state of mind. I don't need to steal from Target. I have enough money for the things I buy at Target. But I also kind of feel like expressing that I respect no social contract between me and Target and like, fuck Target. I get this jolt of satisfaction when I just sort of like pass over the scan and put something in the bagging area. However, I'm pretty sure that if I ever got caught not scanning things at Target, I wouldn't cop to that. I would probably pretend that I had made a mistake, or I might use the privilege of my race and gender to get out of it. And noticing that tells me something about what I'm actually up to. All the central teachings of the Buddha really show up in the exercise of this precept. It's not enough to follow the rule. I have to be present to what I'm actually doing and see it clearly and to note the karma of it. What are the consequences of my actions? Is it bringing suffering or is it reducing suffering? There is no easy or clear answer. You do have to get into it and see for yourself. And Dr. King said that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. So if we take the instruction not to take what is not freely given at face value, we wouldn't be able to pursue justice. There are times when it is appropriate to take what is not freely given because it's being withheld unjustly. The right to vote, the abolition of slavery, these were not freely given. It takes a lot of discernment to determine what things, although not being freely given, are still right to take. It's also useful to think about what might motivate us to take things that are not freely given, besides punk politics and the Target. And of course, we can take more than just things. We also have to be mindful of when we are taking care and emotional resources that are not being freely given. As a white person, I'm aware of the way that I show up in a room or a conversation may put a burden on people of color to support or appease me emotionally. That support is demanded by all these complex social structures, but it's not freely given. Part of the exercise of this precept for me is being mindful of when I'm showing up in ways that might ask people for emotional labor that they would rather not perform. We have to be mindful when we're asking others for emotional support or for a listening ear that are not being freely given. When we're speaking, are we speaking to someone who can easily and safely decline to listen? A barista, a person waiting tables, somebody next to you on the train may offer listening and validation, but it might be because they can't not. When we're in a meeting, we have to be mindful that we're not taking time that isn't freely given by other people. Am I dominating the conversation with what's important to me and taking from others what they would rather not give? It's both wise and onward leading to attend to these things in our interactions. And we should be mindful of the karma we place on others when we give what is not freely given. We're all aware of the burden of resentment that we feel and that we place on others when we give something that we don't really want to give. It's important when we offer to help or offer generosity to think about whether we are truly offering it freely and not because we feel duress or obligation or because we secretly hope for something in return. If someone is venting to me and as they're speaking, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, shut up, I cannot hear another word from you. While my face is arranged in a sort of an emotionally supportive shape, I'm causing suffering for both of us. If I say I'll volunteer to help when I don't really want to, in hopes that you'll think of me as excellent or more lovable or someone that you're in debt to, I'm creating suffering for both of us. When possible, do not give what you're not freely giving. But how do we know? How do I figure out what's freely given and not? What's right to demand and not? What's right to take and not? By now, you know what the Buddha's going to say. See for yourself. We practice. We see what things feel like. Is this leading to freedom? Is this reducing suffering? Is this onward leading? When I pay attention to my shoulders, what happens? When I take a few things from Target, what happens? When I listen when I don't want to listen, what happens? That's where the information is. That's where the discernment is. So let's do that. Let's spend a couple of minutes seeing what's here and what it's like.